Okay, hey guys, how's it going? Um, Today's gonna be a little bit interesting. I'm using a really ghetto setup at the moment, so like my microphone is back on its shitty little stand, and I'm not using a rubber table or anything because we haven't actually started unpacking yet. But I said that I wanted to do this, so and I have some time, so that's what we're gonna do. Let me know if anything's off. I'm trying streaming in 1080p 60 FPS. Because the new connection at this place can actually handle that. And like, um, I can shut the place up tighter down here because I couldn't at the previous place. So like, I can make this into an actual studio, which will help a lot. But yeah, at the moment I don't even have headphones unpacked, so I'm basically playing with the game noise down as low as possible and just hoping that the microphone doesn't pick it up. So I bought Tekken 7 for Midori and asked her if she could do up like a list of I'm using my laptop to run my stream preview stuff just at the moment, and it's kind of rough because I only have one screen unpacked. um so I bought Tekken 7 from Midori and was like, hey, why don't you tell me like what you have trouble with, and then I'll start by like using that as the basis for what we're doing. So she did. So here we are. So here's the first tricky thing. I don't think many people stonewalled on this, but she did, so it's worth going over. The game will go over this like when you log in, so like you want to check that everything's working properly. I am using a mod that changes these to use PlayStation face buttons instead of X360 face buttons. And I wonder if I can just turn off the preview because that's gonna. Yeah, that's probably better, and then I can make this a lot wider. I'll just trust that when it says excellent, it means it. Um, so this mod, you can find it on DeviantArt of all places. It's also on the PC Gaming Wiki page for Tekken 7. If you use a DS4 controller, then I strongly suggest that you pick it up. Yeah, um, that was basically, yeah. Hold on, let me PC Gaming Wiki Tekken 7, and we go all the way down here, we go down to input, and hold on. I am sure that there was a link to this on the. Am I dumb? Yeah, there we go. Let me just drop this in the chat real quick. And remind me to link it on YouTube in the description when I get back to YouTube. So after you've made sure that this is good, you go to confirm and exit and tell it yes. And then notice that down the bottom, circle has changed to next instead of cancel. So if you want to move on, then you need to hit circle and do that. So you only get this when you boot up the game for the first time. So I'm actually going to Alt F4 out and put my saved game back in. And then relaunch the game. That reminds me, did I tell you to run at 60 FPS? Yeah, actually, let's just tell it to cap them. Oh no, wait, hold on. Tell it to VSync. That's much smarter. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's copied back in. So now I just have to launch Tekken again. Because I couldn't get to that without deleting my save data. Yeah, I had to figure out where the save games were actually backed up and go there. So, just while we're pressing through this, I'm like not stellar at Tekken, but I've been at it for a while, so what I'm going to do is try and go over the basics. You can actually see up there in the top right, I've actually been demoted online since the last time I was streaming any Tekken. These things happen, it's okay. So... Alright, so let's start by going over some of the like really basic stuff. So I'll just duck into the options quickly. I like turning my vibration off, but you can turn it on if you like. And I leave this on default, although for online, like ranked is I think it's like 3 rounds and is it 45 seconds or 60? This you can change to your... okay, so controller setup. So by default, the game looks like this. So when you're talking about notation, we call these by numbers. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you say 1 plus 2, it means push both the left punch and right punch buttons. It is a little bit weird, but because we use letters for directions, we don't use letters for buttons. So like we use like B and F for back and forward, and we use 1 and 2 for punches, whereas in like Guilty Gear, for example, you use numbers for directions and then A, B, C, and so on for face buttons. So by default, this will set you up like this. My setup is a bit different, so what I do is I have these as standard, and then my 2 left buttons and my 2 right buttons are on my top shoulder buttons, and then my 2 punch buttons and my 2 kick buttons are on the bottom shoulder buttons, because these are the most common 2-button inputs. Most characters have inputs that use like some setup with these, but I prefer to do those by shifting from holding my, because I play on a pad, instead of playing, like I'll switch up my grip, so instead of holding it normally and using my thumb for the face buttons, I will tilt my wrist and instead go to a claw grip when I'm going to do those inputs. I have long fingers, so this is pretty comfortable for me, but for some people it's like a lot less comfortable. So if you're having trouble doing inputs, especially multi-button inputs, strongly consider like changing up how your macros are. You might find it a lot easier. This I don't have set because the main use for it is to supercharge, which I usually do by buffering it out of something else, and I'll talk about that a bit later. Rage art is on clicking the right stick, so I don't have to think about it too much. And assist moves are on clicking the left stick, which is really useful for some characters and not really useful for others. I'm like old school, so I set my character movement to D-pad only, because that way I can like click in the left stick and then press buttons without worrying about moving, but you can change it to use either or both. And basic combos, I recommend that you turn this off really quickly, but this is really, really good if you're like, you're at a party or something and you're like couch gaming with people who don't normally play. This kind of turns it into a party game. So if you're gonna get serious, I suggest that you play with basic combos off, but just like keep in mind if it's like, oh, you know, I'll get some mates around and we'll play Tekken even though nobody knows what we're doing. Basic combos on, really good for that. Button mapping, this takes you back to the same menu as before. Display settings, I turn motion blur off, but you can change that if you want. Resolution, I strongly recommend setting it to borderless, and I recommend you either VSync it if you can or lock it to the FPS. You don't really gain anything from going over, and the graphics can get a bit weird higher than 60 FPS. The game also kind of like assumes that you're playing at 60 FPS, and like we'll talk a lot about frames in what we're about to do, so try and keep it at 60. Alright, so first off, let's go to online and we'll just talk about some really basic stuff.
Welcome to the King of Iron Fist
Here's the
Tournament
menu.
7.
There's a shitload of characters in this game. I have all the DLC and I have a live list, so like, these are the top real estate characters, and then the core roster is these down here, which is, what is it? 9, 18, it's 36 characters, is it? Yeah, by default, which is kind of a lot, but they're not too bad. So if you're just starting off, I actually recommend that you pick one of the new characters from Tekken 7. So that's Shaheen, Josie, Katarina, Claudio, Gigas, Lucky Chloe, Kazumi. Is that everyone? I feel like that's all I'm forgetting. No, that is everyone. Okay. These characters, especially Katarina, all have quite basic movements to start with, and depending on like how you want to approach the game, if you have like any preference in fighting games, then you can have one of these and it'll kind of ease you into like Shaheen is like a poking slash counter hit character. Josie is a rushdown character. A lot of her moves transition to a special stance that you can use to apply extra pressure. Katarina is like a really easy basic character. She was designed from the ground up that way, so like you can do a lot of her combos by just mashing one button. She's not, how do I put this? If you just do that, you probably won't win games, but if you consider that as like a training wheel, and it's like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the one button combos, but I'm going to really focus on like my fundamentals and finding ways to use them, then that's going to teach you a lot. And she has a moving stance, which are pretty unique, not many characters have one. Claudio has a resource mechanic, which is very unusual for Tekken. So you have to like set up with like some of his moves will give him his resource, and then some of his other moves get powered up by expending it. So that's pretty interesting if you're into that. I guess I'd equate it to something like maybe bullets for some characters in Blade Blue or Guilty Gear, stuff like that. Gigas is a really defensive character. He has really long arms, but like a strange body type where his legs are really stubby. And his big thing is like his 1-2 does 38 damage, body damage. So if your opponent is ever like minus, then you get to do that to them and it's plus on blocks. So like your opponent loses their turn if they do almost anything and you block it with Gears, and as soon as you hit them, like they're on the clock. Because off his jab, he can win games off his jab. So if you like playing like really defensively and like punishing poor decisions, then Gigas is a really good choice. Lucky Chloe is super strange. She's very similar to Xiaoyu in that she has like unique stances where she's low to the ground or back turned or so on. So if you want to get used to playing characters that have like really unique stances and movement options, or have a unique gimmick, like for her you have to press your buttons like in time to the beat that she's dancing to for some of her attacks. So she's a good character to learn that kind of thing on. And Kazumi is like a Mishima but for beginners, so she doesn't have like electrics, but she has a very good stance that gives her a full mix-up, and she has really good punish tools. So in fact, I think in season 1, Kazumi was like a top 2 character. I'm not sure if she still is, because Tekken's meta is a lot narrower than, for example, like Smash Brothers. Melee specifically, later games usually wasn't that bad unless you got to like Bayonetta or whatever. So like, you have characters that are like god tier and characters that are bottom tier, and then characters that are bottom tier win worlds. So like over characters that are god tier, so you know. I'm gonna pick Shaheen just for starting with, because I think he's like a really simple and good character to start with. I'm gonna pick Brian as the opponent. Yeah, Panda? Really? I'm gonna pick Brian as my opponent because my friend plays Brian. So when I'm practicing, I always practice against Brian to make sure combos work on him. And we're gonna go to Infinite Asia. This is mostly for like move list learning. If you want to practice like specific setups like wall combos and so on, you should pick a stage with walls. But if you're just like trying out Movelist and trying out like long juggles and extensions, I recommend an infinite stage. Okay, so if we go to Movelist, you can actually, Midori pointed this out, when you go up here, moves have little icons, but they don't have like explanations. If you press square for help, like it says at the bottom, it will display this list of icons. So you can use this to like tell what you're doing. Yeah. I haven't streamed with voice in ages, so I'm like trying to kind of get back to it because I don't really talk that much. But yeah, so this tells you how the key works. Do note that the black and white arrows are actually backwards in this game from how they were in previous Tekken games. So, you do need to be aware of that if you're like picking up Tekken 7 now because it's really cheap. So, while you're on here, so this shows you all the characters' moves. You can see Shaheen has 67. Okay, but it says 67, but a lot of these moves are like duplicates, or the way that you input them is like generic. So for example, he has 6 moves here that are dedicated to being throws, right? But these are the same throw, it's just that one of them has different frame values, you can see here. And then these are, like, his throw will always be this if it connects from the left side or the right side or behind. So you don't really have to worry about like these being individual moves. Similarly, like these are listed, but you're not worried about them so much. So if you press triangle here, it will display the move up there. And okay, so let's talk about the really basic stuff. So you can move around with the D-pad. So back moves you back, forward walks you forward. If you hold down, you'll crouch, and if you hold up in any direction, you'll jump. If you want to move in 3 dimensions, and this game is 3-dimensional, you need to tap up or down. If you tap and then quickly release the button and hold it, you'll side walk, which can be important for some things. And if you double tap back, you'll backdash. If you double tap forward, you'll run. If you're far enough away from the opponent, and you double tap and hold, then you will sprint, and there's a bunch of things that you can do while running like that. All the way back to here, you get this unblockable like shoulder charge. But if you do it from here, you get attack instead. Similarly, you can crouch, you can stand up. So to do your moves, so we have left punch, left kick, right kick. Easy. So have a look at this move that we're looking at here. It's 1, 2, 2. So left punch, right punch, right punch. So 1, 2, 2. Oh, you can see that I actually did that well in advance. If you look at the buttons on the bottom of the screen, those are my inputs. So as you can see, I'm actually doing the 2 almost immediately. You can actually delay it quite a bit on this character, almost until it hits, but I'm not very good at that. This one you can actually hit confirm, which is very unusual for Tekken, so you can see that hit and then do the input. But generally speaking, you don't do moves, like in like 2D fighting games, you normally do the next move as the previous one hits, but in Tekken you do the next input slightly before the next move hits. So it's more committal than 2D fighting games a lot of the time, and there's no like, you can't like, you know, get blocked and then like Roman cancel and backdash and, you know, get out in exchange for meter. Like if you commit and you go minus, then it's like, oh, I'm just done then. It's like, standing guard. So this is minus 11, which means that if he jabs, because jabs mostly have a startup of 10 frames, jab is guaranteed. Like, I can't, if he just immediately jabs after this, then I get hit. But if I stop here, then it's only minus 1. So I can, like, if they, do anything that is faster than me by 1 frame, then I'll get hit, but blocking is like instant. Also, the frame data display in this game is DLC because Namco are greedy as fuck. So, I recommend looking up frame data if you, like, aren't super serious, because, like, it's really shitty to give them money for something that should have been in the fucking game, but it's also really important to have it, so, yeah. And a lot of moves, so something about Tekken that is important is that it's like, oh, you know, we have all of these moves, but if you look at this, right, so this is his, so he has this 1, 2, 2, but he has 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 step, 1, 2, 4, like all of these come out of the same move. After the 1, 2, you have options. So you can kind of think of these as actually all being one move, and it's really just like how you want to end it. So like you have, so that's a mid, so if they were ducking, you can hit them with that. That's, so this one, the whole string is high, but I'm pretty sure this is actually, yeah, this is only -8, so it's actually completely safe on block. However, if you step in, where you hold down and forward after doing the break, that's only -1. So you can immediately like move after that and use any of his moves that are in his stealth step stance. And then this one is another mid, but this one gives you this huge launch. So it's like, oh, they ducked, and like if you see it coming and they're like, oh, you know, I'm gonna punish this like really hard with some like big wind-up move, you just be like, nah, like get out of here. Similarly, this one is a high mid, so if it looks like they're going to duck, oh, I should explain that, I just realized. So, if you've played 2D fighting games, normally attacks that you can block anytime are like called mids. And the attacks that you have to block crouching are lows, and attacks that you have to block standing are highs. High and mid mean the opposite thing in Tekken. So high moves have to be blocked standing, but they can be ducked under. So, like that. But if the opponent is crouching, even if I set them to crouching guard, see, watch this. They can't block that because it's a mid. So, like, you can't block mids ducking. So this is, like, the equivalent of an overhead. But, and a lot of moves that, like, do have... an orbital? No? Yes. See, this would be, like, an overhead in most games. And it's a mid here. So a lot of the same animations will apply, but it's also for any, like, you know, low straight punches or, like, attacks aimed at the midsection. And low attacks, you have to block low. So don't get mixed up by that if you've just started playing and you're used to like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter and it's like, oh, it's a high, I have to block it. Standing, I can't crouch under. It's like, no, you can crouch under those, you can't crouch and block mids. What shall we talk about next? Okay. So, the pro... if you don't have the frame data DLC, you can look frame data up. I think I know what it used to be. See, we used to have stuff like Tekken Zaibatsu, but that doesn't exist anymore. I think RB Norway is correct. Because it's from... oh no, it is from Season 4. Okay. Cool. So... this that I just linked in the chat should be sufficiently up to date. But, let me just, oh, right, I can't do that because I don't have a second controller. Yeah, let's do this. So, jabs, 10 frames. So if you do a move that is slower than -10, and like, like on block or on whiff or whatever, then you can get jab punished. So like easy, right? For most characters, see if, oh wait, no, that's not. What is your launcher, my guy? Okay. A lot of characters have a standing launcher that is 12 frames. Oops. Except these two, apparently. Actually, this is a good example. So, if I... So, 11 frames launched. It will only do this on counter hit. But Brian's standing 4 is slower than... is 1 frame slower. So that will happen. The 12 frames is, like, if you were minus 12, it's generally considered launch punishable, because a lot of characters do have 12 frame launches. Especially, like, Mishimas have 12 frame launches, you gotta be really careful about that. And, like, basically, as you get further into the frame disadvantage, it's a hugely disadvantage. Yeah, this. Like, that's minus 13. That's minus 12. How many, like, plus moves do you have, my guy? His move list is too good. I'm used to playing King, whose moves are like insanely minus. That's not blockable, that doesn't help. That one's plus unblock. Yeah, okay, that's good enough. Minus 15, like most characters will punish you for this. It does have some pushback, so you might be safe. But for a lot of characters, like, that's punish range. Like, you can just get blown up if you do this in neutral and it gets blocked. That's a throw. Oh, this is minus 17, and it doesn't even push back. Like, if you throw this out and it gets blocked, you're probably gonna lose half your health, because, like, everyone can launch you before you recover. Like, so as soon as... See how the character turns blue when I do something? That's when the character, like, can't be controlled, basically. So you can't do any inputs from that. See how quickly, like, Brian recovers in comparison to Shaheen? Like, almost instantly stops being blue, and then you just get launched. Because, like, Brian has, Brian, like, you do have a launch. Hell, you can even launch off, that's 27 frames. Well, that's good enough for plus. What's that? Wait. That's 4. I was too close for that one. That's 19. Or you could do, like... Yeah, I mean, that's 15 frames, plus the trade for the input is 18, so that's not actually guaranteed, but you can always, yeah, like, you can kind of see how this would turn out badly. This way. Attack. Yeah, that's way too big. You don't need to memorize frames. A lot of people make that mistake. It's kind of more a matter of recognizing it with, like, oh, I'm, you know, in block stun for 10 million years, or, oh, I recovered really quickly after that, and they're still, like, recovering from their block animation. You know, it's like... Who's pestering me? So, you don't need to think too hard about, oh, you know, I need to memorize everyone's frame data. What I would recommend doing instead if you like really want to try doing this, and I don't really suggest it, but what you can do is you can set up training mode and keep in mind your character's frame data, and then see like what you can punish and what you can't punish, or try practicing in like treasure battle mode or whatever, but like, play defensively and block stuff, and then see if you can get like punishes and stuff afterwards. And it like, because it's, I like to think about the frame data a little bit, but you don't want to think about it too much, because it's not going to win games for you. And in the heat of the moment, you don't want to be thinking like, oh, you know, I'm like +2 or whatever. You just need to think, okay, I'm plus enough that I can do this and it's safe. Or, you know, that move is huge, and then you block it and it's like, oh, you know, I have this huge opening. And you can usually tell that from the animation. So it's useful to know some really basic things like, you know, jabs at 10 frames, but you don't need to worry about it too much. Now, I do want to talk about some other generic options just before we move on. So when you are jumping, you can actually jump in 2 ways. If you tapped, you do this like itty bitty clock. You can only do this forwards, or yeah, you can only do that forwards. You can't do it backwards. If you try and do it backwards, you instead do the optimal teabag, which I think is really funny. Like that's because you can't, like you have to, yeah, you can't really do that otherwise. So if you don't want to key charge your opponent, you can do this instead. Tiny hop has its uses. You hit the ground much more quickly. Big hop moves you a lot further. But what buttons you press during a jump depend both on the character and when you press. So for example, with actually, hang on, let me go back and reverse not finding jumping. So if you do like up, forward, and 3 all at the same time on this character, you'll get this. But if you press up and forward and then press 3, you get this like spinning slash kick. And if you wait until you're on the way down, then you get this. Yeah, at the peak, you know, like if you press like at the peak of your jump, you get this, which goes crumble stun. And if you wait until you've almost landed, you get the slow sweep. Similarly with this one, so you have this launch, which is like 15 frames. It's pretty good. It's also super punishable on block. So don't spam it. But you know, you do it and going up, then you get this hop kick. Peak of the jump, you get hop kick again. If you do it like as you hit the ground, you get this like baby kick. For some characters, this kick is really powerful. Like you can get launches out of it, or you can just, like it can have a variety of effects. For punches, it's not stunningly good. However, jumping and going to down punch is like the most baby way to punish someone who is lying on the floor. So if you don't know a good down option, you can just do this. I believe that this will beat either stand-up kick, so you should be okay. I'm actually going to swap characters just for a moment. Single select is fine. Because I'm going to pick a character who can lie down. Because we still have some basic stuff to talk about. So, when you're on the ground, and so there are basically 4 ways that you can be. So this position is face down, feet towards. There is also face up, feet towards, and I don't know if I can get into the opposite way on this one, but you can also have the alternate version where you're like, actually, this can't be so like you can see there, he ended up like face down, head towards, and you can also be face up, head towards. What moves you can do when you're down vary depending both on the position of the opponent and which buttons you press. So I'm just going to go over some of the really basic ones. So from, you need to hold anything to say that. So this move puts king down, cool. So we're face down at the moment. You can roll backwards or forwards by pressing in that direction. Try not to get in the habit of just like continuously holding back to get up, you cannot block while you were doing this. Stay down, you bro. So, oh, wait, did that not let you stay down after it? Okay, cool. I learned something today. Don't get in the habit of just like holding back to get up, because you're vulnerable during that whole animation. If you want to get up quickly, just tap up. That's the quickest way to get up. If you want to get up and block low, hold down and back, which will cause you to recover crouching without going anywhere. You can block very, very early in this animation, so it's really important for some characters, because like you see people who will play like Noctis or whatever, and they'll get you knocked down at the wall, and they'll repeatedly do his like downward lance stab, because people who try to like roll it or get up will continuously get hit and looped by it. But if you hold down back, then you will get up and block it. It also happens to be launch punishable on block, so be aware of that. Yep. Let's not screw the water bottle back into place. Right on top of my microphone. Okay. So, you can also move in 3 dimensions on the ground. To do this, you press 1, so the left punch button. So, it will roll you that way if you just press 1, or if you hold down 1, then it will roll you this way. You can keep holding down to stay down after you do this. Which can sometimes be useful. Okay, and then down moves. So if you press 2, so right punch, it won't do anything. You can see I'm just kind of chilling. Circle will give you a standing kick, which hits mid and launches. So this is like a good get off me button, but it's it takes a long time to come out, and I think it's punishable on launch for most characters. Yep. I gotta get just the right situation. Yeah, it's -14, so you can get launch punished. Alternately, you can like back here. If you press 3, you get a low kick. If this lands on counter hit, I was too close. If that lands on counter hit, it will actually knock them down. So these are ways to like fight people who are trying to beat you up on the ground. You can also, if you face up, feet towards, you can hold down and press 3, you'll do this little ankle kick. Okay, set my position. Down, face up, okay. So this back roll afterwards is totally free. Oh well. Let me check what happens if I actually block that. But if you mess it up, it's -20, so you're getting launched again. So these are like high risk, high reward. Finally, you can press 3 and 4 at the same time, and you'll do a get up attack like this. This varies per character, so like King, for example, has this like, get up kick, which ends up with him back turn. But for other characters, it's going to pull like he does as well. Instead, you get this like hip up cross chop. This is actually quite an interesting move. It does hit fairly hard. It's +10 if it lands normally, but can I? Let me go back to here. I'll say restart position, current position. If I do it from here, no. Okay. What if I say not set? No? Okay. It's kind of hard to show off here, but if you are far enough away and that lands on deep hit, you can actually get guaranteed follow-ups, especially at the wall. But because it's safe on... This takes forever to start up, like almost a full second, but it's safe on block. So if you can like get it to land, it can be a good way to recover. Just don't become predictable with it like I do, because you will get punished and like, you will get severely messed up. So what do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about some more generic movement options and basic moves. So we talked a little bit, I mentioned throws before. So by default, your throws are like this. So you have your both left buttons and both right buttons. You can see that the character's animation actually changes. So for throws that lead with the left hand like this, to break them, you press 1, left punch. So left throw, left punch, right throw, right punch. Is how you break them. You can also press forward and your character will do this big step when they do the throw, but that makes it really slow. See, normally it's 12 frames, it's 15 like this, and there's like this huge setup. The throws don't do much damage from the front. You get these 35 damage. Your left throw will leave you and your opponent on the same side, facing the same way. The right throw will swap sides. And some throws have unique properties, like Paul's here lays him down. Actually, that's a fun move. I can use that to... Yeah, you actually recover like significantly faster there than the frame data suggests. So this, like, throws like that can be useful if you want to get out of the way. Most characters will also have a 1+2 throw, which I think it's probably push away. So as you can see here, they kind of like grab with both hands at the same time. For these ones, you need to press 1 and 2 to break them. They typically do slightly more damage, and if you get around to your opponent's side, then you'll do a different throw. These all have various properties, but side throws do 45 damage, or 40 damage. Okay, Paul's left throw does more damage. Normally both side throws will do 45 damage, so that's weird. And then back throws do like 50 more if you're king. And command throws are usually stronger as well, so alright. Like, see, that did 40, whereas his front throws normally do 35. I should talk about the ultimate tackle as well. Some characters have this as a default move, or you can get into it by running. So you can deal with this a few ways. If you press this first, the ultimate tackle move answers the left punch. So some characters that have left punch reversals can actually reverse it, which is like strange. If you press 2 when you get tackled, you can flip it over. So it'd be really nice if you could just like swap characters instantly. I'm just gonna swap this one to Brian and this one to Paul. Okay, so let me see if you can run. Repeat some action. 100, so now we have to play, it's gonna be run. Action up. Right, so you press 1 and 2 when you break the throw. You're getting grabbed. You can also, if I can do it, this is harder than it looks. It is possible to turn this throw over by pressing, I think it's 1 and 2 as you hit the ground. Is it 2 as you hit the ground? Whatever, I'm no good at it, is the point, but like, you have options. I'm actually really trash at this. I only ever get it by accident. It may even only work, you know what, if they go to... Let's say do this instead. I need to... No? Okay, there is a way that you can turn that over. I'm just really shit at it. I think either avoiding the puddle or blasted salami has a tutorial on this that's gonna like show you it from someone better than me. And this is why my rank isn't very high. But like, it is there, so you can do it. Oh, it's just 2. Okay. I wonder if it's as soon as they start cruising up. No? And once you, like, for most characters, all they've got there is going to be the punches, so, like, if you press the same side, if you, no, you have to press the opposite side that they're punching from, so, like, if they're doing a 2, you need to press 1 and vice versa. You'll kick them up and things will go back to neutral. And, yeah. Okay. So that's, like, all the really generic stuff. You'll kind of get a feel for that more as you play. So I'm just gonna go through, let's go over to Kazumi. Like, the reason that I played King is because when Tekken Revolution came out, King was the only character that you could get away with not being very good at juggles with, and I'm really not good at it. So there are 2 more universal things that I just remembered. So the first is Rage. When you are at low health, it's roughly where the orange colour on the health bar starts to come to play. You'll enter this Rage state. So while you're in this state, okay, so that does 25 damage, right? When you're in Rage, it does 26. It's not got a very impressive boost on this move, because it's percentage based, but on like moves that are really powerful, it adds up a lot. The other thing is that if you check the new move list, you'll have seen this, Rage Art and Rage Drive. These expend your Rage mode. So Rage Art is like a super powerful attack. While this attack is starting, you have super armor, but you do still take damage, so be aware of that. They all do about 55 damage. Something to be aware of is that they are not especially, let's just launch it. They don't have particularly high scaling, so I don't really know if I'm going to do that. Faster than that. These are a really good way to tack on guaranteed damage, but I would encourage you to not pop your rage too early if it won't kill, because you'll basically, like, you lose the damage bonus for the rest of the match, and you can only do that once. You also have your Rage Drive. This was added in the Fate of Retribution upgrade, which is what the home console version is based on. This is a different way of using up your rage, so you still use a rage, but instead of doing a super move, you get this like special variation, so like this gives you this super high launch. And it's, how big is that? It's 13 frames? Yeah. So you get this super high launch that you can do like whatever you want with. For other characters, like for King for example, his either gives you like this enormous launch if it lands raw, or if they're on the ground then you get like guaranteed follow-ups that are really powerful. These these are really varied by character, and like some characters their rage drive is like much better than their rage art. Like for Gigas for example, his rage drive can be used to set up an unblockable, which can potentially just instantly kill your opponent. So what I suggest that you do at first, so I'm going to go over to just going to range off. So for starters, I suggest that you just try practicing doing these easy combos. So 1, 1, 2. Again, remember you have to push the buttons early. You don't push them on hit, you push them before hit. So like you commit when you do this. So like in this case, you do like what you do is you do the 1, 2. And then if you see the, like the 1, 1, sorry, and if you see the second connect, or like that connect, then you do the 2. This one, you don't have that kind of luxury, you need to commit to it, so you just need to be fast. This move is interesting because it moves them a really long way to the side, not far enough that you actually get a side throw, but if you, let me just use that again. If you sidestep, and then throw, you do get a side throw, which is kind of weird, and because you are so far away, like a sidestep over here will really mess your opponent up. Like to practice with this stuff, pay attention to any icons that you see, like this one has the scroll icon, so if you hit your opponent with this while they're in the air, they'll go into this screw state where you can extend your combo once. But you can only do that once per combo, so like if I do this and I hit them with, oh, that works from there, dummy. You know that it works, just do it. See, even though he span in the air, he didn't go into the screw state again, despite the fact that this move will normally screw. So this is like the replacement for Bound that was in Tekken 6. So once per combo, so the idea is that you get a launcher, and then you go into a screw, and then you go into a finisher. And then like you add filler as you become more confident in using it. As you can see, like for this one for example, I'm not confident, so I tap the last input the whole time. But I do the first input, the first 2 inputs almost instantly. I do the circle input on this one before she even extends her leg to kick, so it's 3, 4, and then I just mash 3 to get out. You can actually just slide your thumb over to it a lot of the time. Or, if you have... It depends on the character and the move, because some moves have, like, strict inputs and some don't. But you can do... Like, I used my shoulder button that is macroed to both the kick buttons there. So, like, if I wanted to, I could do, like, up forward 3 and then just mash the shoulder button repeatedly, and it would come out no problem. It's better if you don't do this, but like if you like me and your fingers don't work properly, or you know you have issues with inputs, then using those is a really good way to get around it. When you see this black arrow, remember that means hold it, so we hold it and we go into this stance. So whereas normally we have this like -8 on hit, or we can hold it and it's, you know, it becomes +9 because we go straight into this actionless state. So this move, see this black glow, this is the power crush. So if I tell the opponent... I did it too late. It's something good at auto actually. I'm actually like astonishingly bad at this. Because you only get the power charge later on. Maybe I'll change the move to be something else. Not much breaker, that's probably not easy to do. Oh, except it's also a power charge move, so I can't do that because power charge moves can beat other power charge moves. Oh my god, you have to get it. It's like, during the startup you don't have armor, So on moves that are really quick, exactly, there we go. See how I took damage, right? But, of course there's not. You can see that I took damage, but my move still came out. And the damage that you take is slightly reduced. Yeah. So, every character has at least one of those. They vary wildly per character. Like, Parang has backlash and he gets a full juggle off of it. Which is like, great, thanks. And for moves like this especially, where it's like, okay, this seems kind of weird, like, you check in the move list and see if there's like a follow-up to it, or even if you can't see one, because some moves don't have inputs for things that they should. Leo is a good example. I'll actually swap over to Leo, who is a Tekken 6 character, I'm sorry. Leo has a bunch of like secret inputs that the game doesn't tell you. So, I picked the wrong costume, okay. For example, so she has this stance, right? You can hold down after a lot of her moves to go into it. And yes, Leo is a girl. The localization for Tekken 7 fucked up. Leo also has a backflip, which works like this. So if you do up, up, back, back, you'll do a backflip. You are airborne for pretty much the entire time that you're doing this, so you don't want to get hit during it, but you will go over lows. So it can be useful, and if your opponent runs into you, they'll often get hit, because like their legs are flailing around and crap. So just bear that in mind. But after several of her moves, you can hold down, and she'll go down into that stance, and some of her moves you can like... most of her moves that transition into this stance, that will do so after an input. She also has some, like from this, if you then hold down forward, she'll do her crouch dash, which the game does tell you about. You can also do her crouch dash better in quarter circle forward. Lots of characters have crouch dashes, and they'll both say like CD as the crouch dash input, but which input you use varies by character. So like on Leo, it's quarter circle forward, but for like King, it's forward, neutral, down, down, forward. You can actually do that input on pretty much every character, and you'll still get the crouch dash unless you like really commit to the down, down, forward. Yep, high, go low. Easy peasy. And like, you're here, you do a crouch dash, bang. It's not really that difficult. It's like, I'm telling you a lot of stuff, but this is going on YouTube, so you can like pause and come back to it. You don't need to worry about it that much. Like, if you're having a concern, my advice would just be to go and hit buttons. It really would be. And like, so when I'm picking up a character, I'm often like, okay, so like I did this, and then like if the character's hand is like, see how Leo draws her left hand back? After that, it's like, that looks like if I do like a left input, I'll get another punch, and look at that, I do. Or it can be like, oh, you know, like, see how her leg kind of like like her right leg stances up a little bit after the 1-2? It looks like there's going to be forward movement there, so it's like, oh, what if I try hitting this? And it's like, oh, I get a low out of it, cool. You can, and probably should when you're just starting to play the game like that. Like, don't worry about it too much, just press buttons and have fun. And like, go to the move list, try doing the move list, go away and have some more fun, like try out some more stuff that you learned in a better environment, like play Treasure Battle, because Treasure Battle, as long as you don't let it teach you bad habits, because the AI has really bad habits, like it'll, like, at like this range, it'll crouch and go 1, 2, 3, and then run up and do something, almost every time. Don't let it train you to expect that, because real people don't do that, but it's worth it so that you can get like some idea of what you're doing in a relatively live situation. I was talking about secret inputs, right? So this is a good chance to talk about key charge as well. So if you press all 4 buttons, you'll do a key charge. While you are in this state, you can't block, but all of your attacks will actually do chip damage. See how... Oh, it got used up. See how their health bar is actually shaking? So you do chip damage. Normally you don't do chip damage in Tekken at all. And key charging takes forever, right? Like you've got this whole like super long animation. Leo is kind of unique. Leo has 2 follow-ups to her moves that can only be done when she's in key charge. But she also has a... Oh, I should also mention, when you are key charged, so that hits like that, when you are key charged, any hit that you land on your opponent will have counter hit property, even if your opponent is just standing there. Key charging is normally seen as bad manners, because it takes forever and people do it at round end as a taunt. For Leo, it's a bit different. Leo has unique ways to access her key charge. And, so for example, if you land, like, if you hold down 1 and 2 after that move, she will do a much faster key charge. So you can see I got the glowy effect, so we did down 4, 2, and then we held down 1 plus 2, and we instantly key charged. Same off this one, we press forward, and... Wait, no, that's not her rage drive. What's her rage drive? Hold, that one. I'm setting rage on. I think you can do it out of a key charge, but it's like, yeah, it's much harder to do because of the chain properties of the rage drive on key charge. So while you're in key charge state, 2 of Leo's moves change. So normally it's like this, and like there's no follow-up. But if you're key charged, you can do 2 afterwards, and you get this follow-up. Similarly, this normally has no follow-up, but if you're key charged, you can do this. So, like, Leo has this pretty unique property where you, like, build up the key charge and you have to try and use it. A lot of her moves have pretty good frame data as well, so you can, like, try and set them up from range using that. You just have to be careful because while you are in key charge state, not only can you not block, but if your opponent hits you, it counts as a counter hit. So it's kind of high risk, high reward. But I think, like, for me, it's one of the things that makes her, like, a really interesting character. How do you do that? Is it... No? It has some weird moves that Fedora was having trouble with, and I can never remember how it goes. Ah, it's this one. Speaking of moves with secret inputs, you'll see that if you, like, just do this normally, then it comes out like that. But if you do a quarter circle input into the last 2, you get a blue spark effect and it does more damage. The game does have a lot of hidden moves like that, so like, if you're experimenting, try and think about like, oh, you know, like I say again with this one, like you can see that her right leg, like, changes. You can see that her right leg, like, she stances up on it a little. So it's kind of an indication that it's like, oh yeah, I can do that, can't I? I think she actually has a... Yeah. This move sucks, by the way, do not do it. It's okay at the wall, but, like, it's awful and neutral. When you're looking at most like move lists, they will, like, if you're going to do like this, they will list that as like crouch dash 2, and you do need to be aware of that. Like the guides kind of expect, you know, basics like that. So like for Leo, crouch dash is fortunately for most characters, they will now mention crouch dashes. Like, so for Leo, for example, you can actually see that it's here on her move list now. So So you don't have to try and guess what the crouch dash input will, but it's going to be like, see, on Leo it's closer forward. If I go back to playing King, and then we wait. You can see on King that it's forward, neutral, down, down, forward, which is like the traditional wave dash input that Mishima's also used. Now the other thing that Midori wanted me to talk about is while rising moves. These are usually at the bottom of the move list, but King has this gigantic list of throws. So I'm gonna try and... Okay, here we go. So while rising state, on move list, this is normally indicated as WS, because WR means while running, which is, you know, where... you do this stuff. See, this period of time when the character is like standing up from crouch, that's when you do while rising moves. So what I do is I let off the down on the D-pad and then press the button immediately. The timing is actually not very strict. So for example, there I did it out of a crouch dash. And this is a good tip for any character with a crouch dash. If you are in a crouch dash and your character does not have a button for the crouch dash, so like in this case, like King doesn't have like crouch dash square, crouch dash left punch, so I get this every time. Any time that you are in the crouch dash state, you can do while rising moves, but only if they aren't... why do I keep doing this wrong? But only if they aren't, like, on a button that is used on the crouch dash. So, for example, you can do this because, see, I'm not holding the button, but if I hold it here, then I get the knee. But I can do this while rising move, like, anytime during the crouch dash. Similarly, I can let go of the D-pad and hit my 1+2 macro to get this like rising uppercut, which is his while rising move. Launches, it is kind of nice. Or if I hold it, I can get Black Bomb. This is more useful on some characters that have like really safe and good while rising options, which King doesn't really, because it's really good stuff. That is launch punishable, and you completely lose your turn if you do this. That's -6. This is +0, but it starts on frame 16, which is awful. It's -10. Yeah. Characters that have strong, like, while standing motions are really dangerous when they're crouch dashing on you, because they can do them straight out of the crouch dash. So, like, that's the whole thing about wave dashing, right? Like, you have the wave dash options, or you have, like, the while standing options that aren't mapped to wave dash options. I should have stayed on Leo to show this off, because Leo actually has a good example. So, for Leo, she has, Nimbu stance, which is her crouch dash, so, see here. So, that we have this low, and, like, she doesn't have anything out of that. She has a triangle move, goes in a lightning spear. Now, she does not have a move mapped to crouch dash 3. So, but what she does have is she has this while rising move. So out of the crouch dash, you can do this. Because the entire time you're crouch dashing, you can do while rising moves if they aren't an input that is shared by a move that is mapped on the crouch dash. So, for example, I can't do this out of the crouch dash, I just get this low instead and like nothing happens. But I can do this. Which is kind of sick. That's the kind of thing that's like, it's really character knowledge based. As you, like, this is like much more complicated stuff. As you, oh yeah, here we go, duck kick. So this is like the standard up forward claw that launches people. which Shane's doesn't. It's like, okay, yeah, here, you know, now you have a launcher, you can do whatever you like with it. So if you look at sample combos, for example, let's knock it out because it fires ring I can't hit. I do recommend practicing with these. Not necessarily because they're optimal, they often aren't, but use them as a basis to like start stringing combos together. So like we do this, bang, bang, bang. So you can see there, right? So here's our launcher, and then we have filler. Then this gets us into our screw, and then we finish it with this. And then like this version has an even more extended version. So launch, four, bang, bang, we go into this. Then this is where I start having problems. I'm really bad at doing like this kind of combo where you like go into a stance and then cancel out of the stance into a crouch dash and then use that to get distance and which is why I don't play Leo. And yeah, then you've got like this is like a long juggle. Like you're probably taking someone to the wall with this. It also requires doing a really difficult input, like because you have to run up and then like tap back immediately and then do forward, which is not as easy as it looks. You always have this option of being like, oh, okay, I've done this as like juggle filler, and now I'm in like this stance, and then this move gives me a screw, and so like any time that you can set up this stance, you can do that. Or any time that you have your opponent be like in a position to be hit by this, you can go for that screw setup. So rather than trying to like memorize like really specific combos like that, it's often easy to think, okay, these are my launches, these are my screws, these are my finishes. So if we go back to King really quickly, get the name so I can show you better. King has like really difficult optimal combos that use his FF+1 screw, and I'm like actual garbage at them. So for King, for example, if you land like this, for example, this is filler, then we get them up, then we screw, and then we go for the power wall. And that's how we end like most of his combos. Or like you land this, so you do this, which screws, and you go into the power bomb, and it does 70 damage because King is amazing. This one you have to do differently because the opponent is off axis from you. So you can't get the running power bombs, so you have to do like a move like that. If you land this move, then you go into his wall rising 2, which gives you the screw, and then you drop down. If you land, let's see if I can do this properly. So if you land that, then on the counter hit you get that knockdown, and then you can do wall rising 2 and get a screw out of it. And you can do like really funny things like this. There's some like really weird combo you can do like this that I had some idea about a while ago, where you like do FF1 and then you immediately go into one of King's air grabs. I'm like garbage at it, so I'm not gonna try and do it. Like, yeah, try and like organize your combos that way, so don't think about it like, oh, I have to do this move, then this move, then this move. Try and compartmentalize it into like, okay, here's what I'm like, here's my launcher, here's my screw, here's my filler, here's my finisher, right? So like in this one, for example, this is the launcher, then we do F3 is filler, then we do this to get them up, this to cause the screw, and then we finish them. And that's the combo. there are like, for me personally, that's way easier than trying to like memorize like all of this insane shit. Like, oh, I need to do this move, this move, this move. It's like, no, just like do a launcher, do filler, do a screw, do a finisher. Omit the filler if you don't think you can get any off, or like, especially if you are starting out, it's better to be successful than optimal. So don't worry too much about doing like super difficult combos. Like, one of the reasons I play King is because a lot of his combos are really easy. So like, for example, this one, like, oh, we hit this, or for example, like, this is actually more difficult than I would normally do as a combo, and it only does 55 damage. Because the one chain in the middle there is slightly harder than it looks. But it's like, I could do that with the really difficult chain, or I could do this. Do 10 more damage, right? Where it's like, this one, you know, you land it on counter hit, here's your screw, and then bang, or you can do, for example, this one's actually kind of sick. I like this a lot. I'm just not really good at it. Because, yeah, doing the Jaguar step into the throw is harder than it looks. Especially on a pad, I have a lot of problem doing 2-button inputs for some reason. You get the step, you get the throw, or you can do this version and do 65 damage. Like, you can see how it's like, oh, you know, we've got this, like, opening, so we can do, like, this move, which gives us a screw when it lands on an airborne opponent, and then we just do Ryan Jaguar Bomb, and it's like, that's your finisher, boom, done. Super easy, right? This one's a good wall combo. I think it is this one that I was working on. Because you can do it after you land full crouch down for more posture. And I did it wrong because I've been playing Gigas, whose overkill throw is backwards from Giant Swing. Practicing like that, but like think about it like, for example, we saw that like this launches, but there was no sample combo for it. But we know that we have options for like how we can get screws, right? Because we've seen it in the sample combos where it's like, you know, we could do one wrap up. Game, please. We could do like while rising 2-2, or you know, we could try and catch them on the way down with this, which is gonna make the follow-up really hard, but it's there. There we go. Or like you can start really experimenting, like, oh, they're all the way out there. What if I did this, right? Like, so I think the sample combos are a good place to start, but not necessarily the best place to end. Now, while I'm on King, I do want to talk a bit about buffering. So Tekken 7 has a really generous buffer window. It usually won't over buffer like Dark Souls does, or like Elden Ring does, where you like press the button and then 3 seconds later after you'd had it, it's stun, roll, and die. But it's pretty generous. So what you can do, for example, so King has this throw, pull it up on the move list. this one. Clothesline press. So this is full crouch, and then while you're crouching, you do down, back, and press 1+2. It's actually not as hard as it sounds. What I do is I hold down and I just kind of wiggle my thumb. But you can do this move out of moves that make you crouching. So for example, we land this, right? Which recovers crouching, and then if you hold down, you'll recover crouching out of it, right? Otherwise you would go into like your wall rising moves, which you can actually use, because your plus if this lands, which is very unusual. Most lows in Tekken are minus, even on hit. But King has 2 plus frame lows. In fact, this is plus. Yeah, technically this is minus because of how it works. It's very plus if you land on counter with anything. Yeah, because it gives you that huge knockdown. But you know, most moves that hit low are minus, like this is -9. Roll 3 hits -9. That one's +7 at the end, okay, but only if they get hit by it, none of it's guaranteed except on a natural combo. So you do this, right, and you do the input and immediately hit 1+2, like as soon as you see him start to get out of the, like as soon as he kind of comes forward. And you get this grab straight out of it. You can also do that, because like this recovers crouching, for example. So you can hold down, back, and that. And so you can do like your wild crouching moves out of it, or you can do like the stomach smash out of the down 3. Which will catch people who backstep a lot. It does hit mid though, so like if they backdash, you'll probably not catch them. What I've been doing is, people like to backdash after this, because they expect the clothesline press, like the rock bottom, so what I've started doing is you do this, and you do the ultimate tackle out of it. Because they made the stretch combo 2 frames instead of 1 frame. Normally you have to press 1+2 at the exact right time. But the latest round of patches changed it so there's a 2-frame window instead of a 1-frame window, and that makes it literally twice as easy to hit. So I'm like down, back, 3, and I can just keep holding down, back, and tap 3, 4, and then when you hit the ground you do 1, 2, and you get this whole combo. And like, technically like cross hold is breakable, but the break for it is you press 1+2 and then mash 2 like 5 times to break it. So it's not technically unbreakable, but it might as well be unbreakable. And, so yeah, like, so you do this, and then you go straight into the tackle, bam, do the stretch combo, which I fucked up, because of course I did. And then the stretch combo part is unbreakable, and so you get 55 damage because your opponent backdashed and didn't break the tackle, because they were expecting clothesline press. Which is like really sick. So a lot of it is just learning stuff like that. It's like, oh, you know, I can get away with this, or oh, you know, they keep doing this. And so like, for example, if my opponent keeps poking with lows like this, hits mid, and you are airborne for most of it. So if they do any low, this goes over it. So if I set it on action. Wait, no, that's the... Oh, that's really the wrong one. Hold on. It's not as down 4. I think it is. Okay, cool. Yeah. As you can see, it actually went over that. Because see how it read punish, not counter? You'll be able to see it on YouTube. I actually need to take a break for a minute to, feed the cats because it's lunchtime for them. So I will be back in just a moment. Okay, we're back. So after this point, I've basically been talking about what we want to do when we are on offense. So I'm going to talk a bit about stuff that you can do when you're on defense. King's fine. So something to keep in mind is that these games have a thing called Crush, which is like a game system. So a move that has Crush properties, which I can show you this better on Armor King. I think he's actually at the end, so yeah. So a move that has Crush properties, it will either Crush high or Crush low. Now, unlike moves that are simply evasive, a move that crushes is just completely invincible to moves that hit in that orientation. So for example, if you've played Guilty Gear, you know that like 6p has like above mega invincibility. In Tekken terms, that would be like a high crush. So for example, we're going to tell him to repeat move list, and we're going to put it on Snake Edge again, and hit play. So he's going to do this low, right? Over. And we are going to do this. So see, like, despite the fact that his leg went like literally through AK's hands, it didn't hit us, because during this move, like, as soon as AK goes into airborne and hits the ground, like, he just does not have a hitbox for low attacks. Like, if the attack is low, it will pass straight through it. Similarly, like, some attacks have like high crush ability. Most moves that go low are like evasive moves. So like, you're considered crouching during them, so high moves won't hit you regardless. So generally speaking, moves that crush low are more common than moves that crush high. You can tell if a move has crush frames, like, that are active and useful. Never mind. Nope, I'm going to say something dumb. Ignore me. That only applies if you have the frame data DLC that I told you not to buy. So just ignore that. We're going to pretend I didn't say that. Like, for most of this move, AK is, like, not vulnerable to lows. Like, if you're going to the low, too bad. Like, you know, even if their leg passes straight through your hand and head, like, it doesn't matter, it won't hit. Like, you're good. So you can use those to kind of, like, fight your way out of a bad situation if you can anticipate a good, move. Like, this, for example, you are crouching from almost the moment that you do the input on this. So you can go straight under most highs with this. Like, if you think your opponent's going to throw a high, you can do this. It doesn't matter, like, AK is a big guy. But, like, even if your opponent throws a high and it visibly passes through AK's head while he's going down, he's crouching during this whole animation, so it's just gonna miss. That's true for, like, most moves. It's not true for literally all of them, but it's true for enough that it's a good maxim to kind of live by. The other thing is teching, not to be confused with Tekken. So I'm going to tell them to go. So when you get knocked to the ground, we have it last time I haven't played. I was gonna have him do. So let's just have him do kick off, because that's this way, right? This one. So this move launches like really, really high. If you tap a button as you hit the ground, and I'm like shit at it, I don't think this move is techable. Holy shit. Am I just... No, okay, no, I'm just doing it too late. So if you press a button slightly before you hit the ground, you'll do this quick roll to get up. If you press a left button, sorry, if you press a kick button, you'll roll into the foreground. Why am I holding back? You keep that done. Whereas if you press a punch button, you'll roll into the background like that. I think it's actually roll left and roll right. Let me just swap sides of crime real quick. Okay, no, so kicks will roll you into the foreground, punches will roll you into the background. that's the like quickest and easiest way to get up. But it's not like so you do have some invincibility at the start of the roll. You can see that my status briefly. Hey, stop fucking around in that basket. That box, please. You can see that my status very briefly becomes invincible when I'm rolling. And then there's a long period of time where like you can actually like recover crouching, or you can recover and like stand up and block. So try and get in the habit of doing that. You can get punished. Well done, Casey. You can get punished for it, but usually you'll be able to block if you tech roll. There is also another thing that you can do. I'll do it. I think I can do it off my punch. So if you hold forward when you get knocked down and land face up, feet to legs, you do this quick little kip up. This can actually hit people if they're very close to you, which like causes it to get up in neutral, but it's a bit risky to do. But, like the option is there. There is also, so if I don't do that, I kind of like stick like that. If you hold back during a thing like that, hold back, you can immediately back roll. So like these are all options that you have. I don't think you can tech roll this normally, right? No. Okay. So like those are your easy options to get back up. If your back is at the wall, like if you get wall splattered, you can tech roll as soon as your character crumples to a seated position. You don't have to wait until they're all the way on the ground. Catching people who are tech rolling at the wall is one of the most important parts of wall pressure. So you need to think about like which way you're gonna tech roll out. I'm really bad at it. I'm just gonna tell you that, and we're gonna like move on. I'm gonna go back to character select because I want to show off a couple of other things.
Welcome to the King of Iron Fist Tournament 7, King Brian Fury.
So, where is it? First. So some stages have stage hazards, for lack of a better term. Not like Smash Brothers style stage hazards, but things you have to be aware of. So, when you've got the opponent at the wall, by doing like a good enough move, so like here I'm just gonna do that to get them. So this first hit is gonna like stick them at the wall, and then I'm gonna hit them again, and it's actually gonna cause a balcony break. So when this happens, as you can see, we moved down here and it went into a juggleable state. I need to reset the stage somehow. Is that? Wow, okay, so it's just like done, you can't do it now. Training mode is pretty okay, but it's kind of tacked on because this game is arcade first, unlike some more recent games, like Guilty Gear Strive for example, which I don't believe was arcade first. Like, you can see that they went into that, like, juggleable state, and I actually have to go back to stage select to show you that again. Because I don't know if I can, reset the balcony in this stage. Which is, like, thanks game, like, really good. Like that. So I'm gonna push him over the wall. When you land from a balcony break, your opponent is in a juggleable state, and you recover quite quickly. Like here, for example, I'm going to do this, and then see I grabbed him with an air throw, and then throw into that wall. And in this one, we have a wall break. So as you can see, that broke the wall, and then like really slowly crumpled. So like this is how you extend combos. If you want to see like a really good example of this, there are lots of like exhibitions of doing like multiple wall break combos on Howard Estate. I'm like really trash at that, so I'm not going to show them off. But it's there. It's pretty complicated though. It's kind of like unless you're like really, really good, I suggest only treating it as like a swag strat. But practicing it could be a good way to like learn about like doing like long range juggles. Now this stage, as a floor break system. So if you land a move at floor break, like this one, you basically get the same result as a balcony break, except it can happen multiple times. So just change your floor break so does. And there we go. Or also got Twilight Twister doesn't. Rank Juggle one does, let's just do that. Oop, except I did it wrong. Here, I get this wall break and I go bang, bang, he's at the wall, 78 damage. You can do really absurd damage by abusing this. And it's very important for some characters, like King can get like monster damage off floor breaks. For some characters it's much less. So this is kind of a character knowledge thing. There aren't that many stages that have floor breaks though. In fact, I think it is just this one, Forgotten Realm, because I don't think any other stage has a floor break, does it? Oh, Cave of Enlightenment does. But only, okay, so you have to do the balcony break, and then you can get a floor break, and then you're just down there for the rest of the, okay, cool. And as you can see, like, the Hallowed Estate has 3 walls, and then they can be broken, and then a balcony break. So you can do some, like, really sick combos where you get them through all 3 walls, and then do a balcony break. Or stuff like that, which is really awesome. And completely impossible for me, so I'm not going to show it off. But like, just be aware that it exists, basically. And some stages, like this one for example, is infinite, so no walls, but stage, you have walls. Having your opponents back to the wall is a really huge advantage. What else? I should talk about like defense generally, so let's go back to this now.
Get ready for the next battle.
So I think this is true for like most fighting games, but it's especially true in Tekken. It's very difficult to lose in Tekken and have it not be your fault. Because like, even if you stand here and do nothing, what am I going to set to at the moment? Nothing. Right, let's put you on Muckraker. Okay, so like this is a really powerful punch, right? If you saw it knocking me up, I'm not pressing anything and I'm blocking. Okay? Like you will automatically block many high and mid attacks if you are neutral guarding. Now this guard is a soft guard, some attacks do go through it. But like, you know, even if you're pressing nothing, you will block some attacks. To block everything you need to hold back. As normal, and to crouch block you hold down and back, like this is pretty normal fighting game stuff. More often than not, the reason that you get hit when you shouldn't is either because you whiffed, because you attacked when you shouldn't have, and you threw out something like, I don't know, something awful like this, which is launch punishable on whiff, or yeah, like that. Or, like, for example, this is launch punishable, like, you threw out an unsafe move, because, like, this looks really good, and it's like, oh yeah, I can just stand up and do that, and it's like, if that gets blocked, like, you can get launched, you, at minimum, get jab punished. Right? And, like, it used to have better frame data than this, so I still have a habit of standing up and doing this, and I get destroyed, and it's like, oh, well, I know why I lost that game, it's because I was a complete moron about it. But, like, it's very, very hard for you to lose a game and, like, there was nothing you could do about it. Most likely, you lost because you did something stupid, like you pressed buttons when you shouldn't have pressed buttons, you did the wrong move. So, look at, like, when you lose, don't think, oh man, that's so busted. Be like, what did I do wrong that put me in this situation? Because, like, oh, that's minus 13. It's like, well, this is minus 10, but you can end up down, and some characters can punish that. That's minus 9. That's actually plus 2, so oh, God forbid you ended with like this and it's minus 19, which is ultra launch punishable. Or like this got blocked, for example, like you're going up if this gets blocked. This is minus 24, it does have pushback, but you're probably going up if it gets blocked. Like, this is minus 15, so it's like, what, like, I threw this out and then I got blown up. It's like, that's not my opponent being too good, that's me being dumb. Like, they were good enough to capitalize on it, but, like, I shouldn't have thrown this out in the first place, right? Because, like, minus 15 on block, they're not, like, this wasn't, like, natural hit on combo or anything. Like, you can wait a long time before you throw out the third kick on this one. Like, almost until the left kick connects. And the left, like, the low high is actually safe unless they duck, which many players won't do. Really good players will, but that's not really what we're talking about here. And, like, when you're at the point where it's like, oh, you know, what do I do about, like, really good players? That's when you start looking at people who are much better at Tekken than I am for guidance, right? So let's go, there's actually a thing that you can use to help with this. So if we go back to my replays, let's find a game I lost. Like, okay, so this guy, I beat him on his Kazuya, and then he came back and destroyed me on his lead. Let's look at his lore, who was a Bakri player. I actually don't do this very often, I probably should. The game will automatically save your last 30 games, and you can favorite ones so that they won't get overwritten. I should actually change that on some of mine. This guy was a Wi-Fi lore, by the way. I have no excuses for losing. Like, it's not like... It wasn't even that bad. So we're gonna go to display, and we're gonna set all general recommendations. So I've got this set, so command history is on display. Well, set this to display. Actually, like that one. I'm going hide. Display this. So this, like, the frame info stuff is only available if you have the frame data DLC, I think, but the rest of this is free, like the recommended punishment thing and stuff. So if we say, like, okay, now we're in turn, right? Yeah, so, like, here the game is telling you, like, oh, you know, you could have, like, ducked under this, and that is true, in fact. Even up, because the low didn't land on a counter hit, I could have ducked. And it's like, there is no mid follow-up to this. The only reason that I blocked this high is because I didn't think to crouch. Like, that's entirely my fault. And then, like, I got hit here because I did something stupid, like when I tech rolled, and, like, that, for example, why would I not block low? He's been doing that all day. That's entirely my fault. Like, I should have seen that coming and blocked. Again, like, there's no mid follow-up to this. I could have just crouched, but I didn't think to, so, like, even though I'm plus 13, like, I could have ducked it and been even more plus. So that's totally my fault. I think it was probably lagging a bit there, which is why we were both just kind of dancing around a bit. So here I hit a pretty okay combo and do a fair bit of damage. I step back, punish it, get him at the wall, or try to, but I grab and miss it. But then he's off axis, so he misses, so I'll get a through. Sidestepping kind of good. You can get a lot of damage. You can catch someone from the side, and like if you aren't sure what to do, just throw them. Sincerely, just throw them. You get good damage and usually good Urki. Now, back one on King hits high, and he was crouching. I threw out back one like an idiot against a crouching opponent and got punished and killed for it. Like, that's why I lost. It's really that simple. Here's another one. Again, there is no mid follow-up to this. I just blocked high like an idiot. In that case, the screw off that was unexpected, so I just did this like really gimpy follow-up to it instead of doing an actual good follow-up. But again, that's my fault. Like, I should have anticipated, or even better, I should have reacted, because like, it's not like I had an insanely like short amount of time to react to it. Like, why are you pressing? Like, it's Wi-Fi law. He has moves that do that. Why were you pressing buttons? So, like, yeah, did he play especially well? I mean, not really. But guess what? I lost, so, you know, I played worse. Like, it's that simple. I mean, I got kind of destroyed by this guy, as I recall.
Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight.
I'm doing some pretty goofy king shit here.
KO.
But we get the easy stretch combo because that actually is easy now, and that takes the round. Yeah, and so this is one thing I'm really bad at. Earlier in the video, I practiced hitting these combos. I am extremely bad at like anticipating the counter hit off back one and getting a real combo off it. So instead, I don't, and this happened. Yeah, like this is a high. I should have ducked under it. But in fact, yeah, like I should have ducked under it. There's just no excuse. And like you don't get anything afterwards. Whereas my punish, which I thought was gonna connect but didn't, is minus 13. So he got to punish me and kill me. This one I probably wouldn't crouch under because there's a low follow-up. Mid follow-up, sorry.
KO.
I mean, in that case, it was just I did a while standing move that I shouldn't have done and I died. Like, that's entirely on me. Like, had I just stood there and he did that up for it, wouldn't have hit. Like, I would have just soft blocked it with neutral guard. So it only killed me because I like was pressing buttons that I shouldn't have pressed. And yeah, this is my bad habit. I am way too used to doing that on get up against bad players. And I feel like generally speaking, people who play Tekken 7 are pretty good. Compared to like Tekken Revolution or whatever. Because of like gameplay changes. Although Tekken 7 is also the first Tekken game that I was really able to play online, because like I finally started being able to cable stuff in and so on. So yeah, I don't think this guy was smurfing incidentally. I think they are just a really good player that was leveling up Jin after like changing characters or something. Or like getting a new computer, I don't know what. But like yeah. Let's see, I punished that kind of nicely because he whiffed, so I got in a nice little punish. Here again, like I should have seen that coming and ducked under it, but I didn't, so he got pressure. Sorry, So I'm really bad at wall combos, so if I get the opponent at the wall, I will almost always do King's Wall Throw, because it does a significant amount of damage, and the input is really easy, because it's just the giant swing input. So here, again, like, I could have done anything here, but instead I did whatever the hell that was, and got this, like, garbage follow-up. This, I could have punished. I didn't. I did make him stand and block and get hit by Giant Swing though, which is pretty good at the wall, because at the wall, Giant Swing can't be teched and does bonus damage. And I cheekily did King's 10 throw, 10 hit combo here. A lot of the last few hits of that 10 hit are low. Lots of people do not expect them. Also, I want to remind you, I lost this set. Like, this guy, oh, the universal parry, I forgot to talk about that. Okay, we'll talk about that at the end once we rank reversals and stuff. I don't know why I threw this out. I had this guy down to last hit in last round, and then he won 3 straight rounds, so like, he basically reverse four-stocked me. And like, I could have like stood up crouching and blocked that low and not gotten juggled, but I didn't, so I got juggled. But like, that's not his fault, that's my fault. Like, I'm the one who chose to stand up instead of blocking low. Again, like, I could have punished that, I didn't. And he came in and killed me while I was busy, like, walking around doing mid shit. This is one of my favorite, like, little cheeky things. Tombstone is 11 frames, 12 frames, 11 frames. It's 1 less than 10 plus the plus frames from F2. So if they do most things, like if they press buttons after F2 hits, and like you do Tombstone immediately, you will usually catch them. Let's go. This looks a bit quicker. We'll have a look at what I'm messing up here. So this tool is really useful, just for like figuring out where you went wrong. It's not perfect, but it's a good way to like start figuring out what you've been screwing up. I mean, I probably should be using it more, I don't, but it's a pretty good way to like start thinking about how things are going. Let's see how this goes. I actually did a misinput there. I was trying to do the Cobra Clutch throw out of his stance, and I screwed it up. This one I wouldn't want to crouch after, because there can be a low mid right after it, I think. So here, again, I did the F2 Tombstone, which I like doing a lot. That shoulder charge is not safe, but it does have a lot of pushback, especially on, and if you like get it on late hit, it can be safe enough. So. And in that case, like, down back 3 is just not safe, so... And starts up slowly, so he just got that free launch on me, because I was doing weird shit.
KO.
Here again, I did something with a really long wind-up time, so he just hit me in the face while I was winding up for it, and it's like, well, whose fault is that? Like, is it his fault for, like, picking a good option, or is it my fault for doing something stupid and getting punished? And it's like, obviously it's my fault. I'm the one who did, like, the boneheaded thing. It's like, you can try and control what your opponent does, but you can really only control what you do, so... And, you know, if you... Like, you're the one who chose, like, to block, like, high instead of low, or low instead of, like, high against, you know, a low or a mid, for example. Like, you're the one who chose to do this move that got counter-hit. Like, you're the one who threw this out on block and got punished. Like, it's really on you if you win or, well, if you lose or not. It's also, it's much more up to your opponent whether you win, but it's mostly up to you whether you lose. Is how I think of it. Like, by this point, he's figured out that, like, I am not great at blocking lows because my reaction speed is pretty terrible, so he just begins pressuring me with the lows. It's like, yeah, that's nasty, but it's my fault for being shit at blocking lows. Like, of course you should do that. You should never stop doing what your opponent hits. Like, if you figure out your opponent is weak to something, you better hit them with that, like, every day of the week. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple more things. So we're going to talk about a couple more advanced things really quickly, and then I'll wrap it up because my throat's, like, dying. I want to talk about some, like, more advanced stuff really quickly. So first things first, we're going to talk about the universal low parry. So with every character, if you press down and forward into your opponent's low attack, you'll do this. The window for this is actually fairly generous. It's not very difficult to do, and for a lot of characters you can get like a juggle out of it. As you can see, this also works on low kicks. I think it works on the ankle kick as well. It definitely works on the low get-up kick. You can use this to people win games off this. That's not even a joke. Yeah. Like, oh, you know, you tried to hit me with a low, and you know, I got a scaled but full juggle off of it. So that's like an important thing to keep in mind. If your opponent is pressuring you with lows, you can just tap down forward anytime you're in neutral and you get this out of it, and that will make you very unhappy. The other thing is reversals. Not every character has reversals, and they don't work the same way for every character. So for example, I'll do the double taps are. So King has King, if you do back +1/+2, will do a reversal that reverses kicks. So this is a left kick. Wait, is that a... yeah, and this is a right kick. But you can see that I use the same input both times, back +2/+4, or back and both of the right buttons. Most characters will have reversals on that kind of input. This one is actually not very easy to reverse because it's very fast. There we go. But for punches, it's a bit different for King. So for example, if I tell him to do like muckraker, I can reverse this with back +1/+3. Oops. And if I tell him to do, I think cross was, oh wow, that was the wrong way. I think cross was should be fine. That actually jails. I need to find some move here that... Yeah, okay, this will work. You can see that I didn't reverse that, even though, like, it should have been in the reversal frames. King's Punch reversal only works on left punches. But some characters, like Devil Jin and Paul, for example, have a universal reversal that works on all punches and kicks. However, just to make it even more complicated, it has a knee out here somewhere. This one. Nope. This one. So this is a kick, right? Oh, you use the kick button, right? So I should be able to reverse it. Yep. Nope, I got hit. I got hit. I got hit. Elbows and knees and like headbutts, shoulder checks, body charges can't be reversed by this kind of reversal. If we go, I'm just going to single select to pull really quickly. So I'm going to set him up and I'm going to go through some reversal options again. So we'll go back down to these ones. So we're going to have that slash kick. Boom, reversed. Oh, he got me that time. You want to do reversals a bit early, because see there's this bit of startup and then you get the animation. And then you might kick. You get that reversal. And if we remove the mark breaker, you'll notice that I'm actually going to use the same input. Oops. I should really pick like an easy move to reverse. I keep doing it too early! Huh? There we go. See, you can see that I actually used the same input for all of the moves that I reversed there. You can see it here, for example. So some characters have like universal reversals like that, and then some characters have like really complicated reversals, like if I go over to Leo, for example. So Leo actually has these three kinds of reversals. So this is a parry. So as you can see, if you land this, it works on either of their punches, but it has to be a high punch. Most reversals work on mids and lows. But this makes you plus 32, right? Like, it's obnoxiously good. This one is most attacks. I actually don't know if this works on punches. I also don't know why I came all the way back here, but this is what we're going to do. Yes, it does, okay. Like, this is the universal move for, like, high. I think it's high and mid. It's, check slash kick is mid. So let's just check. Too early, I'm not great at this. Yeah. As you can see, like, for those kicks, she, like, steps aside and tilts them off. Not kick. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if this works on these. I assume that it doesn't, but let's just find out for the sake of it. Yeah. I definitely would have hit that by now. I don't think I'm messing this up. Otherwise, it's going to look really bad. Okay, and then she has like a final reversal, which I'm going to go back to these again. So this one is a bit interesting. If you use this reversal against a kick, then you get this damaging move. But if you do it against a punch, you get this instead, which puts you at +5 but leaves them back to him, but it's really good at the wall, because I think the wall splats, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, you have characters that have different kinds of reversals, you have characters that have different results out of the same reversal depending on the context, so this is a bit more complicated. And while we're talking about reversals and stuff, I should also talk about Sabaki, which I think is just Sabaki move. I think that has Sabaki frame, but I don't remember. I wish I'd memorized this. No, because this is the low, right? Yeah. I know, I'm just going to quickly go through her move list if I remember what I was talking about, like how this works. Yeah, this. Okay, so see this like opening animation at the start? This is called Sabaki, which I'm probably mispronouncing. No, not Jet Uppercut. Oh, Mark Breaker, thank you. So if you get that opening animation bit to coincide with an enemy punch, which I'm like tremendously bad at. At least I assume that this has Sabaki frames. I think it does, but I'm like not very good at doing it. Let's try this. No. I really needed to pick a character that I wait, hold on, I'll switch to Jin. He has a really good Sabaki frame. On an easy to use move. I knew I should have picked a different character. So one of his moves, I think it's not that. It's not that. I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. Come on. Okay, did you see how when Brian's punch hit like that upraised hand, he got like into a weird state where like his hand was sent flying? So Sabaki, kind of think of it as like an auto parry. It means like if your opponent like tries to hit you with a specific kind of move out of it, then it won't work and you'll get that instead. Some characters have a lot of these, like Leo is a good example. A lot of her moves have like Sabaki frames on them. Not all of them do, but it's worth keeping in mind. That's kind of more advanced, but like the advantage to doing a Sabaki over blocking is that you like immediately get a hit out of it and you don't necessarily lose any momentum. So you can use them defensively or offensively, like if you think your opponent is going to mash once they come out of block stun, you can try and trap them with that. It's kind of interesting, right? If we go over to what was the last thing I want to talk about? Electrics. Right, okay, Jin actually does have those. I might swap her with Devil Jin because I could probably do it better at them. So if you spend much time playing this game, you'll probably hear about people talking about electrics. So starting with Tekken 4, this game had a formalized just frame system. So that means doing the move like perfectly, like with perfect timing. So for example, it should be listed here. Yeah. Okay. So you can see here we have again Wind-God Fist. So this is Crouch Dash, which in this case is the Shoryuken motion. So forward, neutral, down, down, forward. You get this, as you can see, 11 frame startup, launches, and nice hits high. And this is the electric version. So this actually starts much faster, but it also has, in addition to doing more damage, it will also do more pushback on blocks. So normally this is -10 with no pushback, but if you do it perfectly, and I don't play Mishimas, so I'm like really bad at this. Oh wait, I can just use... Yep. Oh, it's not... Okay, on Kazuya, his input for this is an electric, but it's not for Jin. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Do you see how that pushed back way more? So that's actually safe on block, unlike the regular version. See, it's actually +5 on block, whereas the regular version isn't. Really, most of the really good characters in the game have like electrics, so... That, like, this is one of the reasons why Mishima tier was a thing forever. I'm really garbage at them, which is why I don't play Mishimas very much. But, so this you have to do forward, neutral, down, down, forward, and press triangle. Triangle has to be at the same time as you press down, forward, and you have to do the entire input in 4 frames. And when you do, you hear that electric spark effect and the move gets better. Other characters do have just frame options. For example, if I go back to Paul, who I'm actually really bad at doing just frame Paul, but his is kind of famous as like a good introduction to it. So Paul has this move, Demolition Man, that if you do just right, and it's like just as each hit connects. See how you got that blue spark? This makes the move safe on block if the first hit wasn't blocked, because if the first hit is blocked, then you stagger and die, basically. But it does way more damage, and like you get better stuff at the wall and so on, so... for some characters, it's like a really big deal I have, just frame moves, and then for other characters, you don't care. King has a couple as well, and this is actually a good segue, because the last thing I want to talk about is backturned, and King can go backturned really easily. So, if you do 1+2 with the correct timing after F3 lands, then you get this DDT follow-up, and similarly you can do this if you land backturned 3 and you do the input at the right time. So backturned. Out of backturned, it's kind of interesting. You can tap back to turn around, or forward to turn around, kind of slow. You can hold down back to spin out and be crouching. This is important if you want to try and block a low. You can turn around and punch. Now this is kind of interesting. The turnaround takes 2 frames and the punch takes 8 frames, so this is still a 10-frame jab, it's not fast or anything. Some characters have special backturned options. For most characters, backturned 4 will be a launching kick like that, which often is only 10 frames, so it's quite good. Or you can do jumping back 4, which is very, very fast. It does have slightly more startup than it implies because you have to do the jump squat first, but it's there. You can also throw out of backturn. This has more startup frames, but people often don't really expect you to just turn around and throw them. If you are really scared, then doing down back will generally be the safest option. Rather than pressing, because if you press you can get counter hit. If you do this, they might hit you with a mid, but it'll be a really late hit. They probably won't get anything off it, and you spin out a long way when you do that. So unless they do a really fast move to follow up to you being backturned, you're probably okay. Some characters also have special options when backturned, so you saw that King has this. You can also do, if he's backturned, you can do this from backturned. Which is actually faster than doing it from front side. He also has an unblockable lariat that, this hits high, but it's unblockable and it does 50 damage, so it's kind of nice. And when King's moonsault, normally he turns around and does it, but if you are backturned already, he just, oh, I did it wrong. He just does the backflip straight up, so it actually starts up faster. This is useful in certain situations, if you land, that's not how you do that. If you land Muscle Buster, especially at the wall, you can do the moonsault, and you will probably catch your opponent with it. Alternately, you can like, oh, that's the side throw. If you, no matter what input you get, if you're at the side, you'll normally do side throw. It's like from here, you can also just do like that, which will normally catch people if they just try to stand up. Thoughts of himself is a YouTuber who does like really good guides for getting like the most damage out of moves. So like after this, like he has a guide like entirely about getting damage after this by like, you know, reading what your opponent is going to do and then doing like the appropriate counters so that you get full damage. It's like way beyond my ability to really show. It's also important that like yeah, just for a bit. We've been at this for a while, we're almost done. Some characters, mostly characters that have special throws, or like are throw-centric, have special throws if the opponent is back turned. So for example, King actually has 2 different throws if up is back turned, so you can either do this with 1+3, or you can do this with 2+4, or he actually has a command back throw stretch bomb, which does 75 fucking damage. It's actually absurd. But, and so like people kind of expect that, but if they turn around off this, you actually get Muscle Buster instead. So, it's kind of good like that. Most throws will only work from the front, so like here's knee bash from the front, right? But if I land it from over here, then I just get like the knee breaker throw, side throw instead. However, you can do some interesting stuff with King. So for example, you can do King's, if you catch your opponent at the side with King, you can do like his 1-2-1 and then throw, because he has like canned throws out of his string. You can do like 1-2 throw, and then you catch them in the side throw, which would normally look like this, right? I don't think I've left anything out at this point. It's like all the really basic stuff. I know we kind of meandered a bit, but I wanted to kind of talk about all the super basic stuff. There is a lot of it, but a lot of it is also not that relevant, if that makes sense. But, oh right, there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about. So I was talking with, I was watching Lifeweeder play Monster Hunter, and we were talking about various things. And they were like, you know, it isn't Tekken, like, you know, your character has like 200 moves, you only use like 5 of them. I really want to point out that that's really not the case. Pretty much every move that you have is really useful. So for example, here we have like, so we have this, right? So we have King's 1-2. So this is actually like the first bit of his 10 hits. So you can do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you do 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. And this is safe on block, and it has 2 mid hits in it. 3 actually, because the last 3 hits were all mid. So if your opponent tries to duck, you'll probably catch them with this. But if they're standing up and blocking, you know, you can do a throw after the 2nd hit, or you can do a throw after the 3rd hit. And in fact, if they crouch, I should say that quickly. You're gonna see that if they're crouching under it, so it's like, oh no, you can actually do crouch throws out of this, which get people, as the name suggests, get people who are crouching. So you can kind of think of all of that as being like one move, and then for here, for example, you have this elbow, which leaves you back turn, and then afterwards you can do this, or you can do this. So, like, you kind of think of these as the same move, and it's just the angle that changes, and like, this is a stance, so that stance forces them to crouch if you land it, but you can do that. So it's more like, these are all the ways that you can open, like you have all of these moves that like you open this way, so like these are kind of one moves, like in both cases these start the same way, but then you have this high follow-up, or you have this mid launcher. You can do, or for example, Roll Soda, which is a probe, you have Shadow Lariat, but if you hold the button it becomes this. Like here, for example, King is not the best demonstration of this because he just dead-ass does have a lot of moves. Like, here it's like, oh, you know, we have this combo, or you can hold down and get a low out of it instead, or you can hold back and recover back 10, which is faster. You know, here, like, we have this back 1, you can do back 1, 2, you can do back 1, 3, back 1, 4, sorry, which gives you this heel kick, which hits mid. From back, what is it, back 2, you can do back 2, and then it's, yeah, 1 for this elbow follow-up, you have this follow-up instead, where you do back 2 and 4, you do back 2, 1 plus 2, which you have this. So the way that I suggest that you think about it is that instead of being like, you know, this is all of, like, oh my god, I have so many moves, it's really more like, okay, this is like all of the moves that I can start with, and then those moves kind of branch into different enders. And for most characters, like, you'll have like a high mid or a mid low mix on your attacks. So it's fairly easy to think of it in that context, where it's like, okay, I'm going to throw this, and then I can go either high or mid, like, what am I going to do next? Or, like, am I going to, like, commit to the combo and follow up, or am I not going to bother? King actually does have a lot of moves. So he's not the best example of this. But for a lot of characters, like, if I go back to, let's go to, for example, Claudio. So Claudio is listed as having 64 moves, but if you break this down to, like, these are the same move, these are the same move, these are just directionals, like, all of these together is effectively 3 moves, and then these are during Starburst versions of moves that he already has, so, like, these don't actually change at all. I mean, they get better properties, but they're the same move, but better. And then the entire rest of his move list, it's like, okay, so these are basically the same move, right? Because you do either this or you do this. So you have high or high-low. Here you have the same options. You can do one, you can do 1, 2, 3, or you can do 1, 1 to go into Starburst. Here again, Dispel Magic and Dispel Force, so you can do this double mid setup. Or you have this mid to high, and like one of these is safe and one of these isn't, so like they're blocking. This is minus 12, this is minus 2. And you can like delay this for ages. This is one of Tekken's few hit confirmable moves. So like you have options of it's like you throw this out and it's like, oh shit, they blocked, what now? Or like, oh, they didn't block, so I'll do this. Right? Like, yeah, here, like, off back 4, like, he has these, like, multiple options. So you can do, like, bang, 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 which gives you Starburst if you don't have it. Or, what was the last one? Bang, 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 which uses Starburst if you have it, to do more damage. But again, like, these all come off the same move, so think of these as branches rather than being totally distinct moves. You don't need to worry about, like, the huge number of moves that Claims characters have, and especially for characters that have, stances, like if we go to, Parlor, I'll give some people trauma, no doubt, but, Parlor is listed as having 146 moves, but lots of his moves are duplicated between his various stances. So he actually has a lot fewer moves than it really looks like. The real issue with Barung is like learning his combos because they are kind of cracked. Like, look at this shit. You like have to constantly dance between the stances and stuff. Like, on other characters, right? So like these buttons, the punch button, like my both punch and both kick button macros on all the characters, those do moves, but on Farang, like he goes back turned or front turned or switches stance. And like forward and kick, which would normally be an attacking move in most stances, like puts you into Flamingo by default. So, like that's the complicated shit. But like most characters don't have particularly big move lists. If you look at like Gigas, for example.
Brian Fury. Get ready for the next battle.
He has 80 moves listed, but like 2 of them are rage arts. Overkill is duplicated a couple of times because you can also do it from Golem setup. Lots of his moves, like, these are the same move, it's just that in this case you press buttons afterwards and he goes into a stance, but like, the move is the same, right? You go bang, bang, and now I'm in my stance. Actually, is that the one that makes you close enough to... No, I think it's this one. Yeah. This is really dumb. If you actually land this, which you shouldn't, you actually combo into overkill and it does that much damage. Like, you know, lots of moves are like that, where it's like, oh, you know, this looks like a separate move, it's actually the same move, you just go into stance afterwards. Or, yeah. So, like, don't be daunted by the huge number of move lists, think of them as branches, and most characters have, like, fairly few, like, base moves, I guess, and they branch a lot. Oh, one final thing. 10-hit combos fucking suck. There are very rare exceptions. For example, I like King's 10-hit combo 2 a lot because I showed this in the So, the first 5 hits of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is actually the start of one of King's 10-hit combos. However, what I do, I like this version of his 10-hit. Now, the reason that I do is because the last 3 hits are all lows. Even though the last hit doesn't look like a low, you will catch people sleeping on that. Like, even good players will get caught by that. However, if you get predictable, then, like, they will, hit you with the down forward low parry. But generally speaking, 10-hit combos are really, really bad. They often, like, they didn't have terrible frame data, they're almost never a natural combo. Not really. Like, if we look at this one, which is the one I want to do, you can see that the opponent had, like, all of that time that they're not blue, they could have blocked. So, you don't want to get caught doing those if you can avoid it. Some characters have, like, 5-hit combos that are really good, like, I say really good, they're really good at this level. If you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Or if you have, like, a good idea. So, like, with King, for example, you use the first 5 hits of that 10 string. Dragonot has a, like, baby 10-hit combo, this one. I don't believe... Wait, is this natural? Are you kidding me? Did this get buffed? Okay, no, you can block after the second hit. Like, that's pretty solid. So, like, that's the kind of thing that you can do. But, you don't want to, like, rely on stuff like that too much. Try and... What you really want to do is you really want to, like, aim for, like, launches and then getting your screw and then getting your finisher. Strings on the ground are kind of problematic. I might do a follow-up video or stream
when I have some time later and talk about like counter hits and magic fours and like natural combo and counter and stuff, but for now I think this is a good enough stopping point. You've got like, because we've covered basically all of the like really basic stuff and we've covered some basic terms that you might run into. I would honestly suggest though that the best way to play the game when you're like a complete novice is to just play the game, like push buttons. Oh, okay, here's what I do. So what I would do is I would start, so I'm going to start, let's look at the rage art. More to see like what animation it uses on startup, because that kind of tells you like what you're going to get out of it. And we're going to see, okay, so they end up all the way over there. And then for the rage drive, we have this. And then if they block it, then the follow-up tackle, and this is guaranteed. That's like the point of that. So then let's do the moves. So if you want to check if things work, you can do key charge, which you do by pressing all 4 buttons, and then seeing if it flows better on counter hit or not. But go through and do this, and like you can see here, like he immediately unblued after the second hit. So this isn't guaranteed. However, I think if you land on a counter, yeah, see, he never stopped being blue in that instance when this landed on a counter hit. So like that's guaranteed on counter. So we're just gonna go through. That may not be in the move list. So go through the move list like this, just like get a feel for what you're looking at. Like, oh yeah, okay, so like that leads to a mid, this leads to a launch to high. You know, this is obvious, like this one is like obvious juggle filler. This one gives me a screw. This is a power crush. Big knockdown, this is like a reasonable punish move. We can go in stance from that, or we can do this, which is a screw, or this, which is a clean hit transition, then we get this. Oh, does that no longer screw? It doesn't! Okay, sick. Now we've got this, which screws, and this switch is pretty fast. Got a fairly standard downfall for the launcher, quick Mantis heal. This is a new move which tracks and screws. This costs crouching and makes you +8, which is absurd. Standing low, which like immediately puts you crouching, so you can run things. Low mid, this one is pretty solid. 1, 3. They can block it or even crouch under it, but good luck with that. Same with this one. Yeah. And if you can't get a string, like just practice it until you get it. This move, if you get a counter attack, like transitions into that, or if your opponent is crouching, then you can do this and get throw. Kind of sick. This is another one where if you get it on counter hit, not that one. If the last hit lands on counter hit, which is really good because a lot of people think that's punishable, you get the ankle break. Quick high, screws with juggle. I'm pretty sure this is safe on block. Oh, it's +1 on block. Okay, yeah. And like if they're like doing weak shit, you tackle them, get another screw there. This is like huge on block. I think this is on block +6. This, I believe, has punch parry frames, but I'm really shit at making it work. Like, if you see a move that has this like weird circular motion and a long wind-up, you should probably check and see, like maybe online or something, if it has like auto parry frames built into it. This is your stand unblockable, so you really like lean back a long way during it though, so it's actually kind of good and the range is pretty good. This move, as you can see, moves you to one side, so what you can do is you can sidestep and then move. Boom, and now we're over here, and now I'm going to hit you from the side with a side throw. This gives you a quick knockdown. Oh, that launches not sick. Like this has like this quick knockdown here where it's like bang bang bang.
This is a low crouching throw, which is sick. So this hits mid, so if they stand up, you can actually cancel it. It's like they have to block a mid standing, so you can cancel it into the throw and grab them for damage. Is this... Okay, so it's actually minus... Okay. As you can see here, he has a crouch dash. You get a launcher there, launcher. Sleigh Ride doesn't mention, but if it lands on counter hit, you get an attack throw for more damage. So Snap Knee, if it lands, gives you this, but it has a chain follow-up. So what I do for this is I just like roll my thumb clockwise around the face buttons. You can actually do it the other way around as well. To my understanding, which button you break the throw with depends on which input your opponent does. So like if you do the square X circle triangle one, then it's 1, and if you do the other one, it's a 2 break. This is like a semi-evasive move. This is like pretty bang, reasonably powerful, but I think the main thing is that it's like getting +6 on block and it pushes them a long way. I'm really bad at doing these. Shadowbug Sweep launches the move of Sonic Counter Hit, and then you have like your Wall Rising stuff. Wall Rising Launcher, Wall Rising Wall Bouncer. Safe on... No, not anymore! This used to be really good out of a crouch dash, but it's now launch punishable, which I'm not going to complain about. You can do this out of a crouch dash because there's no like crouch dash +1/+2 input. And as you can see, like we have sidestep stuff, bang, 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 bang. I want to do that? No, okay. And like you have a mix up here where you can either go into his tackle, or you have this like high move that gives you the crumple knockdown. You have like a double sidestep basically. Back turn move, which is like that. This where he like gets up, or this where you tackle them from prone, which is awesome. He has a stomp. Most characters that have a stomp will have it on this input. And then 10 hits, which you shouldn't do, but I like doing anyway because it's kind of fun. I'm not going to spend much time on that. Oh, about throws. Side switches. Like, it's worth doing this just so that you get like an idea of what you're looking at. Dragunov is like a throw heavy character, so he actually has a like a true throw game mixer. And from his tackle, instead of the usual punch follow-ups, he has these 3 unique, like, ground throw follow-ups. And then you can check and be like, oh yeah, I have this crouch throw. And he has a parry, a reversal, sorry, so this works like pulls, it works on any high or mid attack that is reversible, so not knees, headbutts, and so on. And he has Pitfall, which works on low attacks. This is actually kind of useful if you're like me and we're really bad at getting a reasonable combo out of stuff like that. So we've looked back around, so now we're going to go to the sample combos, and we're going to try these out a little bit. Okay? So, bang, bang. And then since there was a gap, it's like, oh, so like, if you, the game doesn't tell you when to move, so like, if you just do this, you will hit it. But you may want to consider like, oh, maybe I should like dash up a little bit and then do this. Oh. Like here you use the fact that you step forward on that and can then go into the crouch dash to extend the juggle. Here we do bang, bang. You have to dash up and then we do the shoulder charge out of that. Oh yeah, these are interesting. So you have to do this, rising, bang, bang. I don't know if that's coming through clearly, but you can hear me actually mashing buttons so things come out on the earliest possible frame. It's better if you don't do that, but I'm very bad at timing these things, so I do that. Why did I do that? In that case, I did press the wrong button. Oh, no. That's why you shouldn't mash. But here, you actually do have to dash up, and it has to be like a perfect micro dash, basically. Yeah, I mean, my timing was slightly off there. But, like, this isn't, like, the best way to get good at doing combos, but it's a good way to, like, practice your timing, I guess. And it can teach you about how far you move doing something. So here, for example, like we do bang bang, really simple one. This one's kind of like a classic part. In that case, I only had to take like a little step forward. But there I needed to do a dash up. This one's interesting because it involves a quick get up and crouch. So, when your character is crouching, if you tap up very briefly, they will stand up faster than usual. Gigas has a good combo to practice this with, but you see it in other characters as well. In this case, because you're considered crouching during the entire crouch dash, you can do stuff like this. Or maybe people who aren't me can do stuff like this. Yeah, see, you cancel it almost instantly so you can get that screw out of it. And then, yeah, these ones won't counter hits because this launch is on counter hit. So once you've done that a bit, and like, I didn't do it there, but like, experiment with moves that are like not the ones that it's showing you. So like, after you get a launch, try being like, okay, I wonder if I can get this filler in. Or like, okay, I wonder if I can get this screw in. Once you've done that, go to Treasure Battle.
Welcome to the King of Iron Fist Tournament 7.
What the hell are these outfits now? Okay,
Sergei Dragunov.
yeah, Treasure Battle isn't particularly difficult. I think I remember to turn it up to the hardest
Round
difficulty,
one.
but just let me check.
Fight.
I can't do that from here apparently, okay. But just like practice what you're doing. Here, so that you're getting like some idea of like how things are gonna work in life, in like a live situation.
KO. Round 2. Fight.
Oof. Or and like, so, because this gives you like a little bit of a push to try and do things under like in semi-live conditions, but without making things like astonishingly difficult. And then it looks customization items, so like you feel like you're getting somewhere. The AI does become fairly competent later on. It does have bad habits, but like. That's not safe, is it? I should have done that to punish it. What am I doing?
KO.
What were you doing?
Round 2.
He was doing his unblockable. Yeah, you can see I actually dodged the first hit of that because Drag like walked all the way away. Come on, you know you want to do a backflip, you're law.
Actually, that's a better idea. I might just throw this in at the end as like a little bonus.
Welcome to the King of Iron Fist, Sergei Dragunov.
If your character has a reversal, you basically cannot be bullied by more somersaults. I know a lot of new players have a lot of trouble with them, including myself, because like they're sort of frame traps, and he has a lot of moves that suddenly go into them. Like this one, for example, is a pretty cool block. If you have a kick reversal, you cannot get bullied by this, because you just do it as soon as he starts moving after you block. Oh, I actually went a little too early there. And you get damage. Dragon Tail is even more free because you got plus 37. If, like, you can, like, block it low and do, like, an instant stand-up if you're better at the game than I am. And, like, get a launch out of it. He has something else that can go into the somersault, doesn't he? I mean, one of them is just that he can do, like, a double somersault. Yeah, like this, for example. Nope. This version of the somersault. Nope. That variation from full crouch. It's really rude. Pop really has a hard time doing stuff with this one. Like, if they're relying on that, and a lot of, like, Wi-Fi lore neophytes do, you can kind of shut them down with that. So, yeah, that's probably the last bit of trivia that I'll throw in. And, like, next time I'll do something where I talk more about, like, counter hits and magic claws and that kind of thing, but, like, go into offline, go to practice, run through all of your moves in the move list, run through the sample combos, then go and play Treasure Battle for a bit, and, like, and then, like, do what you can, and then once you're like, oh, how did I do that again? Go back to practice mode and, like, drill in move, and, like, do the drill again. So do everything in your move list, do your sample combos, and then go back into Treasure Battle, and, like, keep alternating that until you're hitting things, like, when you want to hit them. That will get you the muscle memory for your strings, but it's very important that you don't let the AI, like, teach you how to play. It's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I can punish this, that's sick, but you need to not learn the AI's habits, because it has them, and, like, the, thing does learn them. I strongly suggest setting the CPU difficulty to ultra hard. It's not actually that difficult, and it applies in treasure mode. I think it applies in treasure mode. Oh no, it's just for arcade battle. Okay. So treasure mode, it scales based on... Why is that not nice? So treasure mode, it scales based on the CPU's rank, I guess. Or you can play arcade mode, but, like, keep doing that until you've got, like, the muscle memory for your moves, and then go online. And then, like, after you go online and you get beaten up, because you're gonna get beaten up, it's gonna happen. I think that looking at losses is more valuable than looking at wins. Because, like, you won, you know, your opponent did things wrong, but when you lost, it's because you did things wrong. So that's more useful, but, like, if you look at... You can look at wins as well, so I can look at this one quickly. I think this guy was, like, learning Kazuya. Because he wasn't too spectacular.
Round one.
there's me missing my stretch combo because I'm bad. And there, I had a chance to do the 1-2 side throw, but I hesitated. And then I did it again because I was like, oh, I should just do it again for no reason.
KO. Round 2. Fight.
I do have this set to... Yeah, okay. The game is a lot less good at helping you out when you're winning as well, so like it can often be a lot more... Yeah. Oh yeah, I finally got the counter hit, and then it's like, oh. And then like, I didn't think that that was like that minus, so I didn't punish it. Like, compared to the amount of information you get from a lose, where it's like, what did I do wrong? Because that's something that you can really work on. Those ones not so good. So, like, look at your losses in replay. Make sure that you've got, like, the stuff that's turned on replays. Make sure that it's... Oh, no, whoa, 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 don't do that. Make sure that it's set to, like, display, like, punishment info and, like, you know, display tips and so on. It's not perfect, but, like, it'll help you out a lot. And then when you've gone through that, go back into online and try and fix it, and just keep doing that. Like, what I like to do when I'm starting out for a day, like before I start streaming, I'll go into practice and I'll just do like all of King's moves once, every single move in the list, just to like kind of warm me up for it, and then I start playing and start streaming and so on. So yeah. Oh, some news. We're doing like the last stuff is coming to this house today, so then it's just unpacking. At which point I can start like properly setting this up as a studio, which will be way better than it was at the last place. I'll have like way less noise pollution, and like I'll be able to I'll be able to be put in a position where I can like do longer streams without having to stop to like feed cats and so on. And I'll be able to like organize it so that I have like my screen set up better so that I can stream from console more and all that. So that's one thing. The other thing is I have like a collab stream with a friend coming up soon. We're going to play Monster Hunter Rise, and I'm actually going to debut a new face and a new character. And there'll be like a big rebrand and stuff, so look forward to that. And that makes me done for the day. So I will see you guys next time.